Hey, everybody, this is Dominic D'Angelo of WrestleZone.com, and it is a very special episode of 2 Dynamite Dudes on a Rampage. And it's a very good one because we got none other than somebody that just debuted in AEW, none other than the legendary Crowbar. Crowbar, thanks for joining me and my degenerate brother today.
Degenerate brother, that's fine. Thanks so much for having me on. And Dominic, before you go any further, one of the first guys that got behind what I was doing, that guy right there, you, very much appreciated you. You were there from the very infancy of what I was trying to do. You were the guy putting it out there, and that actually encouraged me, prompted me to keep doing it. There were a few. I did one promo called "Who Are You, Boomer" at the very beginning.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Cody responded to that. That got a whole bunch of views. I said, okay, this is cool. Maybe I should keep doing this. And had you not picked up on what I was doing, I could honestly say maybe I wouldn't have been as encouraged to continue. So thank you. You know, I'm a big believer in the chaos theory, you know, the wind moving a butterfly here and there. And that was one of the things that encouraged me to do what I was doing. Just want you to know that. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I mean, and like just the work that you have been doing on those vignettes and everything like that. It's neat to see because like so many talent today that are trying to get in the business and stuff, they don't take advantage of that. They don't make the most of those things. And so to see a veteran like you be able to do that and kind of reinvent yourself in a lot of ways and find a unique way to engage with an audience by blurring the lines a lot of the times that you do with those vignettes, I think it spoke a lot to like what the business can do and what people can learn from you as well. So yeah,
I got some, I mean, blurring the lines is fun. Talk about like some hate messages and
yes.
You know, I love wrestling. I love all genres of wrestling, some more than others, but in general, I love wrestling. But when my character got on certain types of wrestling, it really rubbed some people the wrong way, and it elicited some visceral responses. And I was like, yeah, cool. We're doing so, you know, in this day and age, it's hard to make people believe in Santa Claus. And I think with those promos, they believed in Santa Claus, would be the evil Santa Claus from WWE. Right. And it was really, really cool. And I would bounce the promos off my wife. I would bounce them off. Daphne was a great sounding board for me. And she would go, Chris you're such a prick. But it's working. My wife would go, that's not you. Why are you saying that? I go, I'm just trying to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
And here we are. But I took my wife by surprise. I took Daphne by surprise. There were a handful of friends that were great big wrestling fans that I would bounce these off of, and I go, you're such a dick.
What the hell? Yeah. What happened to you?
This isn't Chris Ford. What's wrong with you?
Is this the pandemic doing this to you? What's going on?
Yeah. But that's how it all started too. It was the fact that being in healthcare, there were some isolated independent shows going on. Again, not fashionable from the time that I came in to express your love for this business. I love this business more than anything. And it was taken away because I work in healthcare. I'm a physical therapist. If you went out anywhere in public, or if you left a state, you would have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and I couldn't afford to do it. So that thing that I loved was snatched away. I said, how am I going to do this? And I got on and I experimented with being a heel one weekend on Twitter. The people got behind it, and there was a lot of young fans, and the response I kept saying, who are you, Boomer? You suck. Who are you? And I said, okay, I'll have fun with this. I'll be the first promo. And that was my outlet during COVID lockdown when I really needed to do something wrestling related.
Yeah, it's therapeutic to do that kind of stuff and express creativity when you're kind of, in a confine or limited to be able to do that. So absolutely, man. It's for sure. It was an adjustment, but we all made it through so far.
Yes, so far.
But
Crowbar, you had mentioned Daphne, and I wanted to say first of all, sorry for the loss. I know that she was
Oh,
she was a
thank you,
close
man.
friend of yours.
Yes.
Absolutely. But I
Huge
did
loss
wanna,
to the business. Such a
oh
great
my
person.
gosh, everything you see and read about her, just such a shining light. So I just
We
wanted
got her
to,
spot in this week, though, so that was good.
yes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That Frankensteiner, that I texted Joe. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Oh no.
Somebody posted the first Frankensteiner she ever did with Shane Helms, and we all got together in the back. Shane and me and Daphne used to travel together, and we say, Shannon, you do gymnastics, right? Yeah, and we started thinking about. So we all got around and said, how can we get Daphne involved? She's getting over. She's getting over. Fans like her. She's crazy. So we practiced that Frankensteiner over and over again, and then that was her first spot. And what I wanted to do, I didn't want to overtly go out there, and people will accuse you in this crazy age of trying to exploit somebody else's misfortune to further yourself. So I thought a great subtle nod for the people that know what's going on. That spot was her very first spot, and we did it from the same corner, done the exact same way. And those who know, and that was just friggin' awesome.
That was it. That's awesome, man.
Same exact corner from the hard cam, and it was awesome.
That's so cool.
Unbelievably cool. You got to pay your respects to her because, I was telling Dom, it's one of my favorite all-time wrestlers. I always loved Daphne, so it was a huge loss. But, rather than focusing on the sad, I was wondering, do you have any fun stories that you could share on Daphne?
One of my favorite ones, and I still talk about it with my wife whenever we have a coffee once in a while. We were in Oklahoma, and we were rushing to get to the building, and I'm a coffee addict. During high school, I started my pro wrestling training. I would drive down to Iron Mike Sharp's school, get back 2 a.m. I was a junior in high school, and I would coffee up in the morning. Fast forward, I go to college, a physical therapy school, very, very demanding curriculum, often after a weekend full of independent dates, and I would have my thermos, and I would just down coffee. So we're doing a date in Oklahoma. We're sitting at a table, and I get like a bagel. The day of a show, I eat light. I don't feel right if I eat too much. I feel like a whale if I eat too much. Maybe it's more psychosomatic than anything else. But I have my coffee and have something else. And I guess a waitress was not happy, was not too pleased that I was ordering so small. Daphne had a full breakfast, and I have my coffee, and I go, can I please have a refill? And we're waiting. And I'm jonesing. And finally, she just goes there. She's sitting by her plate. She goes, you're not getting that coffee, Crowbar. And it was just like, you're not getting it. And it was just the delivery, the way she did it. It was so funny. She always had a way to light up the room. She would walk in, and it was like a ray of sunshine. Boom, smiling. Everybody loved her. She just brought the room up. The energy, the positivity of a room that it just brought up. And she was an extremely creative person, actress by trade. And a lot of these things that I did over the past 16 months, 14 months, whatever it was, I used her as a sounding board. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? And she gave me brutal, constructive criticism. Some were great. Some were like, she was like, no, this sucks. You need to change this. And it helped me grow. And so people don't realize that she was an integral part of this character. We had hypothetical situations of, if something were to happen, how we could introduce her back into the fold too. And, unfortunately it just, isn't going to happen. But we would just sit and we would bring some, like I say, I work like crazy. I do the daddy thing, the husband thing. So I would often call when I was doing my cardio, and that would be our conversation, like 8, 9 in the morning. And I'd have my headphones on, and I'd be sweating, huffing and puffing, and just discussing what I'm thinking. And we had all these grandiose ideas, and just unfortunately, they're not going to play out just the way we might have wanted them to, unfortunately.
It's so unfortunate, and I think it's this whole week with the knockouts knockdown that went place, and them paying homage to her with the Monsters Ball match, and she is somebody. Marcus and I were talking about it too. She is somebody that was so ahead of her time as a women's wrestler. Like if she was here to like if she was in the thick of her prime today too, she would have been a top star. Holy smoke.
Huge star.
Way ahead of the time. Yep.
Absolutely. So no, it's yeah, she was such a sweetheart from what I heard. And yeah, I'm sorry for your loss too, man. It was tough for a lot. Yeah. I did want to just talk about your experience at AEW and it going from Joey Janela, you rehabbed him. And so talk about just getting your connection with Joey Janela, and then how that all unfolded for you. How did it all started with getting the news about Dark and everything?
Since we're going to discuss this, it's probably going to disappoint my followers and fans on regular. I do not drink wine on the regular. I don't. I'm sorry. But in light of this, you're the guy that really picked up on the promos. It's a big week. I want to say cheers to you. Cheers to your show. Cheers to Tony Khan, QT Marshall, Joey Janela, whoever's in that office that okayed me coming in. Thank you. Cheers to the Blue Meanie, a friend of mine for so long, never worked like that. And for us to do that night, it was just friggin' awesome. Cheers to all involved. And thanks for all the people that got behind this friggin' douchey, crazy character that I created. And this is just a victory drink right here.
I'm with you, brother. Heck yeah.
Cheers. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. I like it.
So I made a post last night and it was crazy. In 2014, I had taken about a year off, maybe more. You know, I always stayed active on the independents once or twice a month, usually. As I opened my business and I became busy, I became a dad twice, got married. There were times when just life was so crazy that I just couldn't participate. And I would go 4, 6, occasionally 8 months to a year without wrestling. And 2014 rolls around. I'm in and out. You know, I still love wrestling, but, you know, kind of should I stop doing this? Should I do this and that? And I got a call from a local promoter, Ricky Otazu, great friend of mine. And he goes, I'd love to put you with this guy, Joey Janela. And admittedly, I'm out of the loop. I'm not, I love wrestling. I'm watching wrestling on the TV when I can, but I'm not immersed in it. Like I'm not up on all these new talents.
Right.
And he sends me some tapes and I'm blown away. I'm like, wow, I really want to work with this guy. Maybe I'm done, maybe not, but I would like to, if I'm possibly done, I'd like to go out working with this guy. And that video is up on YouTube. And so I come out, I'm in okay shape, little flabby, been off for about a year, if not more. I forget the exact time frame. And we tear it up. We go, I believe 20 minutes at least, chairs, guardrails, wild shit, wrestling. And it reignites this flame inside me. I never lost it totally, but as you get older, you just start to think, should I do this? Should I do that? Is it time to walk away? And then I have that match. Fuck no. This is now it's back. And then Ricky brings us back for I'm not sure if it's a no DQ table, ladder, whatever. There were ladders, there were tables, there were chairs, there were all kinds, and we just murder each other. We friggin', I mean, I come out all banged up, he comes out all bad. We friggin', and I love it, and it's awesome. And that gets me back into doing regular independent shows again. And the bug bites me, and I see Joey here and there, and we work again in Freehold, New Jersey. It was a 3-way match, I believe, with Joey and Chris Dickinson, which was fun. Nice. And then me and Joey work for a show called Forza Lucha they have each year. It's a charity show of some sort. And that's the first time that I work, Joey, with this entourage you see in my videos, Big Adam Payne and my wife, and we tear it up there. Again, so I'm still doing indies here and there, maybe once a month, once every 2 months, just enough to feed the addiction. But the character is not a stretch from real life. It's my real life with an amplifier on it. I'm not being snarky. Life is good. Thank God for my business. Thank God for my family. Thank God for my kids. But it's a sick compulsion and an addiction. And I got to do this shit. And again, it's not fashionable when you're a professional wrestler. Maybe now it is. But when I broke in, it was taboo. It was not fashionable to express how much you love wrestling. I fucking love wrestling. Part of my language. You can beep that out.
You can swear all the time. No, we swear all the time.
Yeah, we don't mind.
You can beep that out. But and I get back in doing this. So then I'm running my business and I get a call from Danny DeManto. He goes, "Did you hear about Joey?" I said, "No, what happened?" I'm not on social media a lot. At that time, now I'm on Twitter a lot. At that time, I think I joined Twitter in 2017 just because everybody told me, "Oh, you have to get on Twitter. Got to get on Twitter."
Sure, yeah.
I joined in 2017. I never used it until it had to be late November or December of 2019 when I did the Ring of Honor thing. But it just lay dormant. It just lay dormant for years because I just didn't have time. I would usually do Facebook. It's more tame, and it would be more for my business, my family. I would do a little wrestling here and there, but it was just my hometown promotion of my business and keeping in touch with family. So I had no idea what had happened to Joey. He sent me a clip and I heard his knee was banged up and yada, yada. He goes, he really needs a rehab. Can you take care of him? So me and Joey spent probably 6-7 months together. He had a serious knee injury, giant scar, and we always got along great. We clicked great when we worked. There was just that instant chemistry, and I loved working with him. I love working with younger guys. A lot of veterans say, "Hey, put me out there with somebody that'll, we do an easy, a solid match."
Yeah.
I don't want to do an easy match. Yeah. I want to go out there and I want to tear shit up. Yeah. And so me and him clicked. It was great having him there. It was great seeing his progress. He had a rough road. He had a lot of scar tissue that laid down in his knee. He endured a lot. I mean, he really doesn't get the credit he should have. He didn't have an easy rehab. He worked his friggin' ass off. And I could see the way he talked. He wanted to be part of AEW so friggin' bad. He didn't want to miss it. He worked his friggin' ass off. And we just formed a great rapport there. After he rehabbed, I think it was maybe a year later, we had a show at St. Mary's High School in my hometown that I promoted. There's clips of that online somewhere where we killed each other way too much for a family show, but it was awesome. And I just loved it. I'll send them to you. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, send them to me.
And then QT reached out around summer and he said, "We might bring you in. Joey really wants to work with you, yada, yada, yada." And that was around the end of July. And I'm excited. But again, coming from the time that I come from, wrestling is wrestling. Anything could happen. I'll believe it when I'm there. So
sure, yeah.
A month goes by. They go to Newark, New Jersey, which is right by my house. I don't hear anything. They go to Arthur Ashe. I don't hear anything. Then I get the call the week before Philly. And now, but I've been preparing. I've always been, for the past, since COVID hit, I've been preparing. That's when that enabled me to come out to do the Super 8. That enabled me to do the JCW/GCW show. I prepare for this. So I think for the first time in my career, I was as prepared as I could be. It wasn't like I got the call and it's like, "Oh shit, I have a week and a half to drop, drop 30 pounds. I was ready. So it was very relaxed. I was able to enjoy the fact that I'm going there and it sunk in and I'm prepared. I'm extremely confident. I knew going in there was going to be a lot of naysayers, oh, why are they bringing this old guy in? I'm sure he can't do anything. And I wanted to go out there and make a lot of people put their foot in their mouth.
Yeah, you did it, man. Because I mean, something that I've seen for you over the course of your career, like with matches.
And cheers again.
Yes, cheers again. For the course of your career and going over the course of your matches and stuff, you were such a smooth worker. And I think that was really conveyed in the time that you and Joey had together on Dark Elevation. I think just like you doing the Vader bomb off the guardrail was a very neat spot. But then I was telling Marcus about it too before I even set up the interview with you. I was like, he did like a Northern Light suplex onto a chair, and I was like, it was super fucking smooth. So
if you go back to that cage match with Sabu from like 2020, 2001, 2002, whenever it is, if you Google, YouTube Crowbar Sabu cage, I used that way back then. It was on a pay-per-view that not many people saw. I've used it on independent shows in front of 50 people here or there. And it always got a great reaction. It always got a great response in the back. I'm shocked it hasn't been ripped off yet. I'm totally.
It's a great move.
I'm sure it's going to be now. It's one of the things when I look at my wrestling now, not just for me, but for my opponent as a veteran. When I was younger, we just went balls out. Let's just do it. Yada, yada, yada. Now I try to choose things that look cool, are easy to do for me and opponent, and they're safe. And the majority of my moves, it's not all moves, check all those boxes off. My job is to excite the fans, make it look good, but also to make sure that my opponent leaves. And one of the biggest compliments I got was I worked with Ricky Shane Page for JCW.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We did the light tubes and all this type of stuff. I ain't going to give away how I did that. But we did a lot of crazy stuff. And he came back, he goes, wow, that was really easy. Mm-hmm. But if you watch the match, we did a lot of stuff that looked nuts.
Yeah, I bet.
And that's what I pride myself on. I want to produce what appears to be a hard-hitting, exciting match where people go, wow, that was nuts. And I want both of us to come back to the locker room and say, oh, shit, that was easy. Yeah. And if you could do that, that's the magic.
Like the biggest compliment.
Yeah,
no you were safe while looking dangerous.
That's the way to do it.
And I developed that as I got older. When I was younger, took a lot of risks that I honestly here, and this is a shoot. I probably could have died about 2-3 times at some stupid stuff that I've done in hindsight that I said, oh my God, what the hell was I thinking? As I'm older now, there's ways to make shit look crazy and still safe. You just got to put in the time and the thought and the analysis. There's ways to do magically looking cool shit safely. And you just got to put the time in.
What would you say was the most dangerous spot you've ever attempted?
Oh, wow. There was one that never made it to TV. It's in WCW. During my feud with The Wall, he threw me off the side of the Tron. He put me through the announce table, from the ring to the announce table, which I believe, and I'll stand to it to this day, somebody proved me wrong. I believe it's, as far as the timing and the danger involved, probably the greatest choke slam in this industry. Prove me wrong. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It was on Thunder. Not many people saw it. I posted it a few times on my timeline. It's on Thunder if you look up Me in the Wall.
Okay.
From Thunder. We literally go, he grabs me on the apron and we literally go down and we go out 6 feet plus, both our bodies in the air through the announce table. Shane McMahon did something similar. The Undertaker grabbed him off the top of the
and then flung him, yeah.
And he flung him. Me and the Wall joined. We both jumped up and out. Both our bodies at least 6 feet. I have no idea how he didn't shatter both his knees with all of our weight coming down. But I will stand by that. That is the greatest choke slam in the history of pro wrestling. Prove me wrong, and if you disagree, F you.
There we go. I like that.
But so during that time, they wanted to do a choke slam through 3 stacked tables off of the mezzanine,
Okay.
the side of the fans there.
Yeah.
And they had laid out stunt boxes to catch me. So I'm up at least 20 feet. The wall has me by the neck, and it was just going to be a drop. I know how to take wrestling bumps. I'm not a trained stuntman. So what I didn't realize is that they wanted me to just kick my feet up and fall. I gave myself a little push out. I hit from that height the last row of boxes with my shoulders enough to rotate and roll to my feet. If I was a little further out, my skull would have been like,
oh my God,
a coconut, brains all over it. And that's a shoot. And that was when I really started looking at what I'm doing. I said, I could have effing died here. I'm all for doing great stuff, crazy stuff, but I have to be more careful. That was probably my aha moment where, okay, you got to be a little, you can still do this. And you can still do crazy stuff, but you got to really analyze and be smart about it. Because I should have been dead. It's
scary stuff. Like to if you get a wake up call like that, it's good. Because sometimes people just don't. Like I'm sure
until it's too late.
Don't until it's too late.
I hit the last row of the boxes, which absorb your fall, and my shoulders and head hit it, and I literally rolled over to my feet with a ton of momentum. I would have been done.
Man. Jeez,
boy, that's scary.
Wild. Well, let's talk.
Needless to say, that spot was scrapped for the night.
Yeah, I could imagine that. Well, talk about too the atmosphere. We have 10 minutes, Crowbar, so if we need be, we'll just hop back out and hop back in real quick. But
sure, that's fine.
Talk about real quick how the atmosphere was backstage in the AEW locker room and the dynamic there. Talk about all that.
I'll be totally open, and I've never been like this. I grew up an extremely awkward child. I was heavy. You could sometimes see it in my interviews. I had the worst speech impediment. I used to be petrified when they would call on me to read in school, like in grade school, when it was my turn. They go up and down the rows and read. And so it's really cool that I'm being known for doing promos now. It's crazy.
Yeah, how about that?
But extremely socially awkward person. And even when I first got involved in wrestling, I'm meeting these larger than life guys that are established. That made me even more socially awkward. If somebody came to me first and let me know that it was cool, I would establish rapport very, very, very easily. When that connection is made, then I could just flow with it. But in the old school wrestling locker rooms, it was very territorial with the veterans, and it was just very different. So sometimes I may have been seen as rude. I always said hello to people, but I wasn't overtly social, because I was, whenever I would form a new relationship, I was out of my skin completely. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. It wasn't something that Chris Ford was accustomed to. I grew up, and I said, extremely socially awkward person throughout high school. And it was only after I got my professional license as a physical therapist and I started to do stuff in pro wrestling that you start to get this confidence about you.
Right.
And I'm still socially awkward. We know each other from the past year, and so we could have this exchange, and it's totally cool. But I have never gone into a locker room, and I'm not just saying this because I was just there. It was a different culture. I never fit the old school wrestling culture, and everybody was welcoming. There were a lot of old WCW fans. There were fans that knew my work as Crowbar fans. There were workers that knew my work as Crowbar. There were people that knew my work as Devin Storm. There were people that knew my work tagging with Ace Darling as a tag team. And they were a welcoming locker room. I refer to myself as a guy, I think I have 1 foot in the old school, 1 foot in the new school. I was probably the first guy to bring video games to a hotel room. I was probably the first guy to study on the road, and I was abused because of it. I mean, and not nicely, but it made me a stronger person.
Sure.
I feel like this was a whole locker room filled with 19-year-old Chris Fords. And it was super, super cool. It was super inviting. And I felt at home, and it was I've never felt that comfortable initially off the bat in a wrestling locker room ever. Like, again, not to beat a dead horse, my entire life, extremely socially awkward until I know somebody and I'm comfortable with somebody. And I felt super comfortable with everybody there. It was totally awesome.
That's what I hear about it all the time, is how welcoming of an environment it is and how positive an environment it is backstage at, do it at
a bunch
the
of people
AW
that
shows.
Love wrestling as much as I profess to love wrestling. It was awesome.
Did you get to talk to Tony Khan at all too?
Very briefly, because he's a busy guy that night of the show. He thanked me for coming. I thanked him about 6 times for having me, and it was really cool to meet him. But you don't want to talk the owner's ear off when he's clearly doing
so much stuff, spinning a lot of plates.
So, but I just made sure, like a couple of times, that I expressed to him how much it meant. It was really cool to be there.
That's awesome.
You always hear about what a Shark Tank environment, the WCW backstage environment could be like. Do you have any particular stories on maybe not necessarily like a bad situation for you, but like some of the old school ribs, some of the differences between now and then?
I remember one, and everybody knew what was going on. I was very close with the Wall. We were close friends. We started out in wrestling school together, and then for us to have a feud on WCW many years later, that was awesome. And near the end of WCW, I'm not exactly sure where or when, they were giving him a push, and he had done a tag match with Sid. Wall was huge, looked great, but at that time he was a little soft. He had a belly. He wore his shirt out, cut off, had big arms. But he had a shirt to conceal his body, but he was getting over. And one of the things that got him over was him throwing me through shit. That was one of the things that got him over. But he was out there for one night. I forget the details of why, but he was a babyface with Sid, and Sid looks great. Sid, and they win the match. And we all know what Jerry the Wall looks like without his shirt. He's impressive. He's big, but he's not in super ripped shape like you saw him when he was Malice in a TNA
Impact,
show.
Impact,
Impact.
Mm-hmm.
So Sid and him win. Sid's doing a pose, and Sid goes up to him. You can find us wherever it is. I'm not sure the exact week. And Sid's going, take it off. Like, he wants him to pose with him. And it was clear that he was just having him pose with him so that people could see that Sid's in great shape and the Wall's in shit shape. And the Wall was getting over. He was getting a push. And that was to me the ultimate in Shark Tank. Let me force this guy into a situation where it looks like I'm telling him to pose. He has to take off his shirt, and he's gonna expose the fact that he's not in the best shape under his outfit that by design conceals the fact that he's not in great shape.
Yeah, that's not right.
No,
poor guy.
That's some insecurity there kicking in for old Sid. I would say that's a little bit of like, hey, getting territorial. Yeah.
He's always been great to me. I've never had to work with him personally, but the Wall was my friend, and it was pretty shitty to do.
Yeah, absolutely,
and pretty manipulative, and it was that's all. But and I just felt bad because that was my friend. He wasn't a guy that I was a coworker with. That was my friend.
Yeah.
And we all knew it in the back. The guys were around the monitor, and everybody and a collective groan filled, and everybody knew what was going on.
Yeah, everybody got the hint of it, and I'm sure, Sid, I'm sure had a reputation with a lot of the boys backstage. I don't know any of the details about it, but I'm sure there was some people do what he's probably up to a lot right off the bat too. It
was always nice to me, but that was just kind of douchey. That's how I feel about it. And what I feel would be the best example of a Shark Tank moment, and like another bigger guy coming up through the ranks and getting over. Let me make this guy look like shit.
Yeah.
Under the guise of me showing the crowd that, hey, we're going to pose together.
Yeah. We're a couple baby faces together. And that's not it. All right. So this is part 2 with Crowbar. So we did talk about your experience at AEW and stuff like that. Who, as far as talent goes, that you got to meet and interact with, who really stood out to you from an in-ring perspective?
they all, I say this collectively, not just about AEW, but as the business in general. The athleticism is off the friggin' hook. It's crazy. Way back when I started out, Too Cold Scorpio was doing a 1.5, and that was blowing people's minds. Now you got people doing 1.5 turns with a corkscrew, and it's an incredible bunch of athletes. I enjoy watching it. I really follow the product. Not from the get-go, I started to watch when it started, and nothing against WWE. I was more invested in watching that because it was new. You wanted to see what's going to happen. You want to see something evolve. You want to watch the evolution, how the fans were in this day and age, how they reacted to COVID and not being able to have fans there. I watched all of the darks from the Daily's Place, and all the episodes from the Daily's Place. So it was fun after all these years to have a major company and watch what they could do. And I love a lot of the talent, although Crowbar, the character, will talk total shit about a lot
absolutely.
of the styles, whatever. It was awesome seeing these talents. And I just envision, and I'm a total wrestling geek. I have a marble notepad in every room where I have a TV, and I'm ADD, ADHD. It was just never diagnosed when I was a kid.
Sure.
And I'm like, I'm very passionate, very compulsive when I'm excited about something. So I have these pads in every room, and I would write stuff down if I ever have the opportunity. Probably not going to happen. If I ever had the opportunity to work with Kenny Omega, okay. And that's on this page. John Moxley, Joey Janela, who I've had a ton of spots with. I know which ones work, but we came up with more spots, and I would run, and I would watch as a fan and also as a worker. I'm not, although it was very fashionable back in the day, I'm not a call it in the ring guy. I can call it in the ring. I can do it. I'm a very photographic memory guy. I like to create. I like to think about what I want to do. I like to write things down. Like I got to the building on Tuesday night late, and I saw Joey, and he had some basic parameters for what we were going to do. And once I knew kind of a framework, I couldn't go to sleep.
Yeah.
The ADD, the ADHD kicks in. I get to my room, I unpack, I pull out my pad, and I can't stop writing. And I'm writing. And it's just this crazy thing I do. By the time I got to bed, it was 3:45. And that's just because I couldn't shut my brain off. But that's how I would watch this show. Because I felt like in my heart of hearts, I thought that there was potential for me to go there. I don't know what it is, call it. It was out there in the ether. I just felt that there was a possibility there, and I wanted to be there. So I have this crazy collection of marble notebooks of just different spots for different guys. And if they ever come through fruition, the people see some really cool shit.
They do.
But I'm a huge Randy Savage fan who is famous for writing stuff down. And that's how my brain works. So I have this crazy collection of marble notebooks of random notes that if anybody opened it up, they can never sort out what's head or tails, but I know where everything is. It's that crazy ADD, ADHD brain, probably a little bit of OCD in there too, socially awkward craziness, mad scientist collection of marble notebooks in my house. My wife will say, what do you want me to do? I go, just leave it there and don't touch anything. Don't touch it. Just leave it there.
Just leave it there.
And each one has 3 pens with that little hook thing that's on the pen cap. 3 pens are loaded just in case. Again, OCD. 3 pens are just in case 2 pens manage to run out of ink and I have an idea. I'm not going to miss it. It gets written down.
Oh, that's OCD, all right.
It was really fun. Yeah, it was absolutely fun. I have one on my nightstand. If I get up to take a piss in the middle of the night, and I think it's, and that has happened, I'll write it down. It's crazy, but that's how passionate, how much I love this shit. And I'm sorry, ADD tangent. What was the question now?
So what talents that the younger talent wise, who stood out to you so far? Actually being there too.
I watch as a fan, and as a fan, it's a weird combination of fan / worker of guys that I know I could do special stuff with. One of the guys, I know I could do great stuff with. Darby, CM Punk, Moxley, guys are always going to say that. One of the guys I would love to work, and everybody will guess, and I've done other interviews. I would love to work with Fuego. I love being a bass. I love being a modern day Psychosis, the guy that I've done a lot of that stuff. I still do some of that stuff, but I know how to take all of that stuff.
Right.
And I like taking moves like that and having it make sense. I mean, I don't want to leave anybody. Oh, fuck Crowbar. He didn't say. There's so many guys on that roster that I know that I could work well with, whether it happens or not, whether this becomes the one-off or what, who the hell knows? Rest assured, there's a lot of notes somewhere in the Ford household. There's multiple black and white marble notebooks with notes for the majority of the people on that roster, at least a handful of spots, because I'm that kind of crazy.
Well, you mentioned it too. Oh, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, I'm just saying I'm that kind of crazy.
Yeah, man. Well, you talk about the new style and all that stuff, and your character criticizes it, but you also mentioned how a lot of the stuff you learn to do safe. Do you think a lot of, from an outsider, from a non-wrestler, coming from me or coming from even just a fan on Twitter, say, may see a spot happen or a crazy new kind of spot go down, you're like, oh man, that's dangerous. But from a wrestler's perspective, do you think it's kind of a misnomer that hey, guys know how to do these things safer than you think? Do you think that's kind of more from a younger perspective, from a younger dynamic that do these kind of moves? Would it be, you see that stuff and you're like, okay, they know what they're doing in regards to it? Or is there a lot of times you're like, oh man, that's kind of dangerous?
Let's first go back to my character shitting on modern style.
Sure, yeah.
So I've well documented. I've crapped on the spot monkeys and the garbage wrestlers and stuff. I like to think I am a recovering spot monkey. I'm probably one of the, if you go back and watch some of my early matches, all it is
craziness,
flippity floppity stuff. If you go to JCW After Hours, it's on YouTube. It's a free show. I work with Ricky Shane Page, and it's very well documented that I bury death matches and garbage wrestlers. They're the lowest of the low, and they don't appeal just to the ilk, but to the bottom feeding ilk in the bowels of the demographic. David Arquette likes to mingle in these circles out. That's my verb. So anyway, we have this crazy, crazy match, and I get booked with Ricky Shane Page. Again, I'm just getting acclimated and starting to know these names. I don't know Ricky Shane Page. Brett calls me from JCW, and he sends me some links. And I'm watching Ricky Shane Page, and I learned that he's known for being a deathmatch guy.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm watching these other matches. Shit, Ricky Shane Page can wrestle, and he could high fly. And I watched 2 matches, and I'm OCD with it. I'm watching them again and again, taking notes. And this guy could go. And I'm starting to get excited about working with this guy. And I start thinking he's larger than me, but he can move. And I start thinking of all the crazy shit we could do, but make it make sense. So well documented that my character doesn't like the garbage wrestling and death matches. And that crowd friggin' loves that shit. So what would be appropriate wrestling psychology wise, if you go back and watch that match, we start wrestling, it breaks down, it gets a little crazier. I do more traditional hardcore stuff. And then Ricky pulls out the light tubes.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at the end of this match, the guy that talks shit about deathmatch wrestling and their low-life fans, I get power bombed on top of a guardrail with a bundle of 12 light tubes on top of it. Glass goes flying, and I fall victim to the one thing that I've been shitting on for about a year.
You're right.
It's poetic justice.
Yes.
But it was, and I'm not going to give away how, it was done safely. And that took it took time. It took thought. It took energy, done extremely safely. And the fans saw something that was great.
Yeah. Yeah. So no,
when you're passionate about something, putting in the time is not a hassle. You get enthusiastic about it. You get energetic about it. Like, I knew what a great finish would be if I went through a bundle of fucking light tubes after talking shit on this fan base's favorite form of wrestling. So I became enthusiastic. I became energetic about how can I do this, make it look incredible, and still come out where I could go to work Monday.
Where you can still do it, yeah. Where you can still go and do physical therapy for somebody else on Monday. But yeah, I guess that leads me into my next question too, is have you, physical therapy, being a physical therapist has been, people might not know, but it's been a long part of your life for
23 years.
23 years. So have you ever considered like incorporating that into a pro wrestling persona too, in a lot of ways?
Funny story. And I have mentioned it in some of my promos. Like I said, the character is just, that came about, the egotistical, crazy crowbar. That happened over the course of many backyard parties with Danny Doring, Roadkill, Little Guido, Bull James, who are all like family. And over the years, I would say, why the fuck are you still doing? You have a business, you got the wife, why are you still doing this? And they'll go, and they all come to the same conclusion. They go, you're friggin' sick. There's something, you can't not do it. You just don't do it like Tito or like Virgil. You go out there and you do all this crazy stuff. And all I can say is, I love it. It's an addiction. I feel alive when I do it. And we're all hanging out in the pool, having a couple beers. They go, just be that character. Be Chris Ford if Chris Ford was a prick. Talk about how good your life is. And I'm not being snarky at all.
Sure.
Thankful. Thank God. Thank all my good fortune, luck, whatever. And they go, if you were to be a dick, who would you be? And that's who the character became. And it's, I say I'm a family man. I'm an entrepreneur. I own a business. I'm a healthcare provider for 23 years. I pursued physical therapy and wrestling at the exact same time. I did WCW and WWE, the light heavyweight division, while I was still in school. I was flying out and doing all this wild shit. And that was before online classes. That was before I had to carry my books around. Not very popular in the locker room.
No.
Any locker room. I took a lot of abuse for that, but it made me a stronger person. But and now again, I'm rambling and ADD. Now, where were we?
So I was asking about oh geez, I lost track too.
I ramble. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So we were talking about what was
physical therapy.
Yes, and like incorporating that into your persona. Yeah.
A cool thing that not many people know about was during physical therapy school, I had gotten a break to do Nitro. Mm-hmm. I worked with Conan on that for the Mexican heavyweight championship. That's when I had the bodysuit, the really bad neon green with the mullet.
Oh, man.
Awful. But and Conan was so good to me. He's such a great guy. During that time, I also did the WWE light heavyweight division, when they were doing that against Taka Michinoku, Brian Christopher, and some other matches. The one match for the tournament was Taka. The other one was for Shotgun Saturday Night.
Yeah.
But it was being discussed at that time. WWE did not have an on-their-own trainer. So there was actually several conversations back and forth that I would be an on the road physical therapist for the talent and also be talent.
Yeah.
And that went back and forth and it just dropped off. It just never happened. I'm not sure if WWE just, I would have just graduated with no experience as a physical therapist. Perhaps that was it. Maybe they decided against it. I'm really not sure why it dropped off. But that was actually spoken about for quite some time. And it just never came through, fruition, unfortunately.
Wow. How about that?
Or fortunately, I'm very happy with how my life turned out. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Fortunately, it didn't happen.
Yes. The cards fell where they may, right?
Yes.
So.
and I couldn't be more pleased. So it's God has a plan. Not trying to be preachy at all, but
that's okay.
I do believe that.
I'm with you too, brother. I'm with you too on
Thank
that.
you.
So now the show that you have coming up is in, now I already forgot how to pronounce
Totowa, New Jersey.
Totowa, New Jersey. It is what is it? The K? No, it's not the K.
ISPW.
ISPW. And you're facing a young talent too, but also a veteran as well, though, and Rich Swann coming up. Talk about working with him. Have you worked with him before? Because he's also from the New Jersey area too, I think. Correct?
I met Rich Swann once at Joey Janela's spring break 2 or 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
We hit it off great. And this is a funny thing. At my practice, we have a whole DVD collection. And one of the regular things we watch, I love stupid movies. One of the regular watches in my facility is Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
And I was always a huge fan of Rich Swann's work. Incredible athlete, unbelievable. But I saw him win a match in WWE. I'm not sure if it was 205 Live or whatever, but I was watching him. I always liked his work. And at the end, he did a dance, and it was basically the Dead Bernie dance. And I popped huge. And not many people knew what it was. I saw him as I go, dude, I know what that was. That was Dead Bernie, and I friggin' popped. So you have no idea. I popped like crazy, and he knew, and he could see how excited I was about it. He finished the match. He went over and he did the Dead Bernie dance, and I popped bigger than probably anybody else on the planet. So we had a cool conversation there. We've never worked. I believe he may have been pulled from the card, unfortunately. I think TNA maybe, or Impact may be taping that day.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
So I'm not quite sure who it's going to be, but whoever it is, I can guarantee you that I'm going to work my ass off and have some fun.
Yeah, you'll lay it down, man. You'll lay it down.
And I'm very confident that ISPW, Tommy Fuhrer, will come up with a very suitable replacement. There has been some names thrown around, but I can't say until they're done.
He runs a rock solid operation over there. I know from like the wrestling
always has,
in the 80s and everything like that. So he's a pro. So he knows what he's doing for sure.
Yeah.
So you talked about video games. Have you been playing anything recently, or have you taken?
I made a post the other night. It's been super busy getting ready for, even before I knew I was definitely going, preparing for the possibility. And as a pro wrestler, if there's the slightest chance, you got to prepare. You can't wait. So I've been preparing. I run a business. I like being a present. I love my family. I like being a present father and a husband. So been super, super busy. What was it? Sunday, I might have made the post, or was it Monday? Sunday. I sat down and I had about an hour. I just needed to decompress a little bit. I put in Star Wars Battlefront. It never gets old. I love it. I love Battlefront 1. I love Battlefront 2. I usually gravitate towards Battlefront 1. I love Tatooine. I love the Sullust board. I love I love Endor. And I just, for a solid hour, I sat down in the dark, put it on the big screen, and I just immersed myself in playing Battlefront. And that's my happy place. It was awesome.
Battlefront is a good one. I loved it when I was in college. And so that was when it was like on the Xbox and stuff. And they just had the original ones. And I started playing the new ones. I'm awful at the new ones. I'm so bad.
I love the old. I have the old ones too. I've been playing the Battlefront one for PS4. I do have 1 and 2 for the original Xbox, which in many ways I think they're superior because you get to choose it. You get to choose
where you go,
the soldier that you're going to be and all that, and get to choose it. I like the air battle where you actually land in the enemy's starship back in it.
Yeah.
And I love the new game's graphics. I love the gameplay, but the things you could do on the originals, I think were superior to what's going on right now.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Did you get to talk about anything non-wrestling with any of the AEW guys backstage?
I had a lot of Star Wars conversations with some people, of course. And it's talking video games in the locker room is great because back when I was
you couldn't
their age, you couldn't, it was, you got to go out there and tear it up and be a nut. And it just wasn't me culturally. So this locker room really fit who I am now, but it would have fit who I was 20 years ago or 25 years ago. And it was very welcoming. And it seemed like a bunch of, and not to be disrespectful, a bunch of kids like I was that just fucking love wrestling and are thankful to be there and thankful to be doing something that they love. And 19, 20, 21-year-old, what have you, Chris Ford would have loved to have been in that locker room, but 47-year-old Chris Ford loved being in that locker room. It was awesome.
I could imagine. Is there, in regards to like kind of getting back there, like being in there, was there some people that you haven't seen in a while that you were like, oh man, it's great to see you again, kind of thing like that? Is any veterans?
It was great seeing Chris Daniels. I used to see Kenny Omega a lot at the Jersey All Pro shows, and that was awesome. I took a ton of pictures back in the day. Again, taboo to be taking pictures in the locker room. You don't want to be a mark, whatever. And also, too, there just wasn't the good camera phones. You had to carry.
Oh yeah, you had the pixelated.
So I missed out on so many great pictures. Kenny Omega, the Bucks, Punk. I mean, all the talent. I went around to everybody and I got my pictures, and I don't care. I may post some are just for my own personal consumption and let it show my family. My wife we love the Acclaimed.
Yeah, they're good.
I had to get a video message for my wife. So when I came home, I was the man because I got Max Caster and Anthony Bowens to do a message for my wife.
Did they do the rap and stuff?
They did not do a rap, but I have been instructed if I could pull it off for her birthday, December, she would love a rap. I will totally clear them, burying me as a husband, whatever it takes. I think they're entertaining as hell and just a lot of fun. They're just good heels, just good scummy heels,
And there's so many of those guys too, like somebody like a Bones and Matt Caster too.
What an athlete. Both of them great athletes and big dudes. They're big dudes.
But and there's so much of those guys too, and so much of those talents that are in tag teams right now. But there's so many of them that you can see like, oh, they could kill it in singles competition too. They could make their own, kind of. If that gets to be like, you could definitely work with that as a singles guy.
And like I said, that too, even too, like FTR was there. Awesome.
They're great.
And just the company as a whole, one of the things that I believe really drew me to is if you go back in my career, there was Devon Storm, but a large part of my independent career, as well as WCW Saturday Night, as well as WWF, let's shock us at was tag wrestling. Myself with Ace Darling. I love tag wrestling. Yeah. Even with David Flair, David was limited, but we still tried to tell it. I'm a huge fan of tag wrestling. And for so long, it seemed like it dropped off the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. I used to love watching NWA, WCW Saturday Night, and we were discussing, you would watch a tag match and you would have 2 commercial breaks. They told a story. And, you can't have that long of a match now unless it's a pay-per-view or something in general. Not all the time. There have been exceptions. But tag matches generally don't go that long. But seeing tag team wrestling come back the way that it has is just one of the things that I love watching there. I love tag wrestling. So it's great seeing it make that comeback. I love uniform tag teams, guys that wear similar stuff, not tags that look like two singles guys.
Yeah, they've just paired them up
together.
Yeah.
They match. People look, I got to meet the Butcher and Let the Blade. I've only watched them prior on TV, and great. I love their look. They look like two dirty, nasty, friggin' burly heels. And meeting these guys, they were absolute sweethearts. And I was such a mark for watching these guys, getting to meet them there and see what just awesome human beings, just such great. And I tell you that, but the Butcher looks like this scary, and I hate to kill his character. Such a sweetheart of a guy, and I really enjoyed watching both of them. They're both guys that genuinely love wrestling. From my short, limited exchanges with them, I really had a good time talking with them, and but the whole locker room was just really, really great. But like I said, I'm a huge sucker for tag team wrestling, and it's great seeing it brought back. And the guys that are doing it there are just super nice guys. It was cool.
Oh, it's so funny you mentioned the Butcher and the Blade, because Marcus on the show, two Dynamite dudes, we always Butcher. We're big fans of the Butcher. I love the Blade too, but we talk about like how he could very much get over as like this singles top star, as like this, like almost like this creepy Undertaker-esque, but like Jack the Ripper more so kind of vibe.
They're scary,
aren't they?
Wrestling characters, fucking scary, and I love that. I love it, but I don't know. They're just something about them that I just really, really like.
Absolutely, man. So okay, we're running out of time again, but I do want to ask you too about just overall. Now that the dust has settled on a lot of things when it comes to Star Wars and the universe, what are you like looking forward to going forward with Star Wars? And last time we did the interview, you had a great pitch about like who Snoke could have been and all that kind of thing. What's your State of the Union address when it comes to Star Wars right now?
There have been rumblings.
Yes.
There have been whispers. There has been rumors that they may use the World Between Worlds to rewrite the Star Wars timeline.
Really?
When I initially saw The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, it was cool to go see them just because I was so deprived. I needed Star Wars in my life. I needed anything. And I watched them, and I just didn't like them so much. I didn't like the way Luke was treated. Luke shows up in The Mandalorian.
Right.
I cried. I lost my shit. I lost my shit when I saw Boba Fett, when I saw Luke, and me and my son both collectively, I forget what episode it was, when they were storming the Imperial base, and they hop on Slave One, and Slave One is taking off into the atmosphere, and the TIE fighters are pursuing it. And I look at my 13-year-old son, I go, oh my God, they're going to use a seismic bomb again. They're going to use and it drops out of Slave One. Burn. We lost our shit. It was just such a great throwback. I wanted to see that so bad. So huge fan of Rebels. And it does make sense if you read the novels prior to Mandalorian. Luke Skywalker waited to train Ben Solo to start the Jedi. He now has a new student in Grogu. So by Ahsoka living and telling the Mandalorian to bring Grogu to the Rock, he becomes the first student. That stitch in time has changed.
Yeah.
I would love to see a stitch where we see a kick-ass, evolved, badass Jedi Luke Skywalker. I'm a huge fan of the Heir to the Empire Thrawn trilogy. When I first got signed to WCW, I read those books 3 times while I was flying around. I love Grand Admiral Thrawn. The characters that Timothy Zahn created in those stories they're timeless. They're awesome.
Hey, there you go.
Thrawn is an awesome heel. And the rumor is that a lot of those aspects will be incorporated into Mandalorian,
Ooh, nice.
Ahsoka, and all these shows coming up. I follow Mike Zero. I follow what the hell is his name? Damn it. I love his name and I can't think of it now. ADD.
I would help, but you're the expert.
Doomcock. Doomcock. Victor Van Doomcock. He wears a mask and he's usually right on about this. So these guys have, I'm a junkie for watching Star Wars rumors, and I don't have the time to read the comics with work and all, but guys will post the comics and narrate them, and I'll listen to them as I'm doing. So I'm a junkie I'm horrible. I'm a big kid like that. So I'm hoping they utilize the world between worlds as seen in Rebels, and they somehow change this awful time. Maybe Ben Solo never turns. How cool would it be as a viewer if he never turns, but as the viewer, knowing what happens in The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and so what he could potentially become.
Right.
So you see times where he's maybe tempted or this or that, and you as the viewer, Ben in that timeline has no idea. Luke has no idea, but you as a viewer know in this alternate what he's capable of becoming, and I think that's deep as hell.
That's nice. You know what? And with those kind of stories, and I look at it from, I grew up an X-Men fan, and then I also really love the Mortal Kombat universe as well. And
yes.
Both of them, like, I mean, you look at Age of Apocalypse with X-Men, so you can kind of be like, hey, look at what could have happened. This is what's really happening. But same with Mortal Kombat, they've done a beautiful job with seaming their universe in and out and making things make
love
sense.
It. Yep.
Are you a fan of Mortal Kombat and stuff too?
I watched the last movie and I loved it.
Oh my gosh. I haven't seen the newest movie actually. So
I
know I got to check that out. I've been playing the video
awesome.
game though and everything like that. So, but there's a lot. You can make it work. That's the thing with Star Wars is you can make it work, and it's such a deep lore. So.
And Dave Filoni created that vehicle. Like sometimes you hear time travel. The very cliche. They're gonna erase it to that. They made that temple, and the way it looked in Rebels was so cool. And you heard all these events echoing in this temple in the universe, the world between worlds. They did it so well. It wasn't jumping through a time pearl. It was like this bridge and alternate destinies, and you saw all the different outcomes. I would love to see that in the live action, and I would love for that to be a way for Disney to not erase the episode 7, 8, 9, but maybe that's an alternate universe. that just happens to suck. And they create this new one that's just way, way better.
Yeah. You can do it. They can do it the right way. It's just like get all the BS.
You don't erase the old ones. It's just an alternate timeline. Mm-hmm. That just happmes to suck.
And you can make references to it even if you want.
You got the same characters. You could have the same. They just have a different path.
It will work great.
Like I said, that if Ben Solo never turns and he becomes a powerful Jedi under his uncle Luke, but you, the viewer, know what he could potentially become if he goes down the wrong path, that's deep. And that's awesome.
Yes. And there's always an audience for Star Wars. So,
yes,
rope them all back in,
I'm already roped in, ready. Just
you're good to go. You're good to go.
Yes.
So anything you want to plug? How do they follow you on Twitter? Anything else you want to get across? Obviously, the ISPW show coming up November 19th is the date, I think.
I believe it's the 19th. I am pretty much on Twitter. I opened up an Instagram. I just don't have time to do it. I'm sorry. I'm on Twitter. I finally have merch. It's on PWTs. For the first time in my entire career, it's the crowbar tattoo. Very simple and cool, I think. And PWTs, Ravens, they have a messaging service like Cameo. You get your shoe promo. My promos will be done in traditional new crowbar form, black and white, background, music, subtitles. And don't ask me to be nice because I'm going to be pretty brutal. But what you see on my promos, that will be the fashion of the promo you will get that you request.
Yeah. Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
All right, Crowbar. Thanks, man. We're running out of time. So thanks, everybody.
A lot of fun. And again, before you go, you jumped on at the very beginning before anybody. And thank you so much. Immensely grateful, and you're friggin' great, dude. Thank you so much.
Crow. It's my pleasure, man. You're the man. So you got to get it across.
You're the man.
You're the man. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll see you later.